Hello everyone, we're here today to go into the local College Station Hobbytown. The owner of the store has consented to an interview, and we're going to take a tour of the store so you can see what I have for a local hobby shop. I'm going to head in there right now. I'll see you guys in a minute. Hello everyone. I'm here today to interview Tim Foster. He's the owner of the local Hobbytown, USA. Okay, and I talked to him the other day and he said, sure, I'd like to do an interview. So what we're going to do is I'm going to ask him a few questions. The first question I'm going to ask is, why'd you decide to open a hobby shop?
Well, my previous career I was in pharmaceutical research, traveling 6 days a week, sometimes on 2 or 3 different planes a day. Kids were starting to get into sports activities and things like that and wanted to be home, so trains are my main hobby. We play a lot of games as a family, and we thought this would be something fun to do.
For the family.
Right.
Yeah, I've noticed your family's here in the store quite often.
Yes, we all work here.
Yeah, that's one of the reasons why I stayed out of a travel type job.
Yeah.
My job's bad enough. I don't get to see her and the daughter very often because our schedules don't correspond. Okay. Anyhow, running on here. How do your model sales compare to the rest of the store?
Models aren't the number one item in the store, but they move pretty regularly, and we've got a lot of regular customers.
Oh, that's good.
That come in always looking for the new stuff. And then, of course, the ancillary things that go with the models, the glues, the paints, those all move pretty well.
Exactly.
Use those with other things. So.
Exactly. Okay, that surprises me a little bit because I know in the past when we've had hobby shops here in town, the model section just dwindles to nothing and the RC section takes over. Speaking of which, how are RC sales in the store?
RC is our number one seller. RC Land, RC Air's probably number 2, and so those are our biggest sales.
Okay, not surprised by that, honestly, because there's so many RC hobby shops out there.
Right.
You go searching for hobby shops, that's what you find. You don't find the model end of the business. So what's your favorite part of this hobby shop, running this business?
Personally, my favorite part is trains. Being a model railroader,
right.
I like the trains, and our game section. Our game section's been growing since we opened, again because we play a lot of games as a family.
Right, and this is a college town,
right.
So they get bored, they look for something to do.
Right, right.
That does make sense. So speaking of trains, what would you give the beginning train enthusiast? I mean, what advice would you give them?
To just get started. There's so much information out there. There are so many things that you can do. Sometimes
right.
It appears to be overwhelming, but just get a set, put a loop of track on the floor, and start running and having fun with it, and then grow into the hobby from there. Don't don't look at a magazine or a how-to book and see these museum quality layouts and think, well, I can never do that, so I'm not going to start. They didn't
right.
start there either.
Right, right. It's kind of the same advice I would give the beginning model builder. Okay, speaking of which, what advice would you give the beginning model builder? Someone who walks in and knows nothing.
Same kind of thing. Get a kit and get started. Don't start with a high-end kit, a Tamiya or a Hasegawa. Maybe get a Revell skill level 2. Okay. Just to do it and get started, and don't necessarily be a perfectionist when you're first starting. Just get it, have fun with it.
Good advice right there.
Just learn to relax after you come home from work or whatever it is that is the reason you're doing it. Just enjoy that, and the skill will come as you do more. Right,
right. That is good advice. It's the same advice I give people. Okay. A question, do you know the differences between the different types of models? Like the planes versus the cars versus the tanks, and the skill levels involved with them?
A little bit. I built models as a kid. I haven't built them as an adult, other than as they relate to trains.
Right.
So the I'm learning them as I go. We've been open now 2.5 years, and so I'm getting more and more experience as I talk to folks like you and other of our experience.
Just curious, because I took someone recently who has not built a model in 25 years, and we meet every Saturday at my house, and I'm teaching him how to build this airplane. And we went through that, saying which kits are easier for the beginner, which kits are not. I definitely would follow your advice. Getting a Dragon Armor kit is not good for the beginner.
Right, right. And the nice thing about, for instance, Revell, a lot of people don't like Revell because they're not that detailed, but I like the fact that they do give you the skill level on there, and it's a great place to start, and then later on you can...
Something I've learned, just for your information, the Revell kits have gotten much, much better lately. The Revell of Germany took over Revell in USA, and they're starting to bring their kits across. We bought a Dodge Viper for this man's son, David's son, and that kit is on the level of the Tamiya kit with a detail.
That's awesome.
It is, and it's half the price. So that's a hint. You guys come in here to buy a kit, listen to him. The Revell kits are good, surprisingly good. I've gotten 2 or 3 of them lately, opened them up and went, wow. Because when I was a kid, the Revell kits really weren't that good. They've definitely improved things.
Right.
So he's giving you good advice. Okay? It's the AMT kits that aren't so good in the detail, especially the ones from the 70s. They didn't upgrade them. Okay? This is just for your information, because
it's good to know.
You probably don't know these things, and I do. Okay, now we're going to start on the RC side of things. Where would you tell a beginner who wants to start RC? Would you tell them a car, an airplane, a helicopter?
The first thing I would do is just ask a lot of questions. Find out what they're looking to do. Are they looking to race? Are they looking just to have fun, go out in the yard with the kids and bash and that kind of stuff? Cars typically are a little bit easier to learn than air, because you don't have that third dimension. You're just left and right and forward and backwards. You don't have to worry about up and down, and when you get upside down, everything's backwards. So cars are typically easier. Any of them, when you're getting started in the hobby, get kind of like with the trains and with the models, get an entry-level plane or an entry-level car and just learn how it works, learn all the ins and outs of it before you go to the cars that go 70 miles an hour. We get so many people in here, what's the fastest car you have? And that's the first car that they're buying.
And that's not what they should do.
60 miles an hour in a 10th scale car is 600 scale miles an hour. So your car would be going 600 miles an hour. Can you drive your car at 600 miles an hour?
No.
Probably not. And,
no, I would not.
And
he's tried, but fortunately,
so start at an entry level, or maybe the next step up from entry level, and then move up into the.
I mean, that's very good advice. Okay, and it'll
save you a lot of money in the end.
Yeah, well, I did that with helicopters. I started with a small one. Actually, no, I didn't. I started with a big one and then realized it and got a small one. Okay, so I should have talked to him first. Honestly, the wife knows I've got like 4 helicopters in the closet and 3 or 4 scattered around the house. Okay, and the big one has not come out of that box except for twice since I married her, because it's too scary to fly.
I can imagine.
It is. So you're giving really good advice here. Okay, now. And I do understand why you tell them cars first, because it's the landing.
Right.
With the airplanes and the helicopters, landing's the scary part, not taking off.
Right. Yeah, it's like a real plane or a helicopter. Anybody generally can take off and fly, but it's getting back to the airport safely that's the hard part.
Exactly. So what advice would you give someone who wants to start learning to fly RC planes?
Again, the same thing. Typically, a trainer plane is a high-wing plane. They're a lot more stable. They're not going to end up upside down. Some people think, well, that's not as fun. I can't roll them. I can't do flips. But again, when you're first learning how, you don't want to be upside down, and then you're trying to climb, but you're really diving because it's upside down and you're in the ground. Also, there are some great flight simulators out there that are excellent to learn how to fly, to get used to the joysticks in your hand. If you haven't grown up as a video gamer and you're not used to the joystick, then the flight simulators are a great way to go.
And you don't wreck your plane.
Right, right. Getting a buddy to teach you too is another thing. There are some great, just like there's model building clubs, there's flying clubs, there's train clubs. Those are also excellent resources. People that are always willing to help new people get into their hobby.
I know the local RC group. I went out and talked to them one day, and they were more than happy to have me come out. They would help me learn how to fly it. They were very supportive.
Yes.
Very nice group. Yes, it is. And they're having a big fly-in today I wanted to go to. It's not going to happen. The schedule's too tight today.
Yeah.
You know, it's not anything I didn't want. Anyhow, we only have a few questions left.
Okay.
What would you tell the beginning RC helicopter person?
Same thing. Again, start with a beginner dual-bladed helicopter. One thing that I would recommend on any of the RCs is get a hobby-grade RC car, plane, helicopter. You can go to the mall and get the double-bladed helicopters at the mall kiosks. When you do crash it, and you're going to when you first learn how, and you break the blades, those typically don't have part support. And so get a hobby grade one. They're generally a little bit more expensive, but if you do break it, you can pop out a couple of screws, put on a new blade, and keep right on flying.
Right.
It's not just done.
Right.
So start with the double rotor helicopters. Those are the easiest ones to learn to fly.
Okay.
They help that counter rotation that a real helicopter wants to do when that blade spins one way, the bird wants to go the other.
Right. We've had this conversation before, so I'm going to throw some questions at you for the RC person. I know you know the answer to, so I don't feel guilty. Listen to him. The helicopters in the mall typically run $30 to $40. What's your intro cost?
Our cheapest one is $39. Our most popular one is $89, though. That's
right.
A step up from that $39 one.
But the point being is you spend $39 here and get parts, or
Right.
$40, $35 at the mall, $30 at the mall, and not get parts.
Right.
And then you end up replacing the $30 mall helicopter later, and you've already spent more money you ever will by spending the extra 10 here.
Right.
So listen to him. I've done the research. My first helicopter video on YouTube, I said all that. Don't buy the mall RC helicopters. Not knocking the mall RC people. They're out to make money. Well, I am knocking them. I'll be honest. I'm saying go to a hobby shop. Go to someone who knows what they're selling. Okay? Now, another question. You said dual counter-rotating. I'm going to clarify that for my viewers so everyone knows what's going on. You have two different helicopter setups. You have the one with the dual counter-rotating blades on top, and then you have the one with a single blade with the tail rotor. The reason being, the single blade puts up a gyroscope effect, and the helicopter wants to rotate in the opposite direction of the blades. So put the blade on the back to counterbalance it, to keep the body of the helicopter from spinning. It's thrusting in the opposite direction. Okay? The dual counter-rotating blades, each blade's rotating in a different direction. I can't do this with my fingers. Anyhow. Yeah, but it's hard to do it at the same time. Yeah.
It's like patting your head.
Exactly. And the reason they do that is it balances the helicopter. Now, the problem with the dual counter-rotating blades is that it's very stable. It doesn't want to go forward. It doesn't want to go backwards. It just wants to hover.
The hobby grade ones, though, they will. They're true four channels, and they will fly very, very smoothly and very, very well.
Now he's bringing up another point. It's a 4-channel helicopter. The ones at the mall tend to be 2-channel.
2 or 3, right.
And the reason you're worried about the channels is each channel is a different degree of freedom for the helicopter. 1 channel means up and down.
Right.
2 channels means up and down, maybe right and left. 3 channels, up, down, right, left, forward, backwards.
Right.
4 channels, you can vary the speed.
Right. And you can, slide, you can spin, you can really move your helicopter around like a real helicopter.
Exactly, and you're not going to get a 4-channel helicopter at the mall. But a lot of them are going to be infrared. And what that means is you have to have a direct line of sight to the helicopter. Whereas the hobby grades are almost always going to be radio. And you don't need a direct line of sight.
Right.
So I'm trying to help you sell your product.
I appreciate that.
I know you do. Okay? I've had good service out of you. That's why we're doing this interview.
Thank you.
Okay? And beyond that, do you recommend they get a big helicopter or a small helicopter at the beginning?
Again, we ask them questions. Where do they want to fly? It's typically a little bit harder to fly outside because you have to deal with wind and environmental factors. If you are going to fly outside, there are bigger counter-rotating double-bladed helicopters. If you're flying indoors, getting the little indoor counter-rotating helicopters are a great way to start with. If they have the room and your wife is going to let you, or your husband's going to let you fly indoors, and you're not going to crash into lamps and knock them off and get yelled at, then indoor is a great way to learn, because you don't have to deal with that environmental impact of wind and things like that affecting you.
Plus, you get to learn how the thing behaves differently when we put the nose to you versus the tail to you.
Right.
That's the big obstacle I'm having right now with the helicopters, and why I haven't progressed to the bigger one. As soon as I turn the thing around, it all goes backwards.
Right.
And I'm not used to it yet. I can't move it right and left,
you go
forward
right,
or backwards.
You really go left.
Exactly. And it takes a lot of getting used to flipping the thing around. It's not like a car. Cars, you flip them around, you get it pretty quick.
Right.
Even the airplanes, you can get them pretty quick. But the helicopter gets me. And I'm being honest with that. Okay, one last question. And I think we've exhausted my list of questions. All right, so I'm going to throw that over there. Have you ever thought of doing support groups for the various aspects of the hobbies you sell in the store? Like a gaming night, a model building night, a train discussion night? Have you ever thought about doing these things?
We have. We're only 2.5 years old. We're a pretty small store right now, just a little over 2,000 square feet. So I don't have like a meeting room or a lot of extra space to do that yet. As we grow and get bigger, that is something that we plan on doing. We have had some learn to paint miniature demo days on weekends. We kind of move some things out of the way, and you know, dads and sons come in and just teach them real quickly what's a real quick way to paint a miniature. So if you're going to get into a game like Warhammer or War Machine or something like that, you can do it and it's not as intimidating. We've done some how to tune an RC car out back. So we are doing that a little bit, and we hope to grow into doing a lot more as we grow.
Because I'm pretty sure that would help sales in certain areas. Because people could get help, they can meet others who are doing it. And that's one of the problems with living in a small Texas college town that's 100 miles from a big city. Is meeting people who do the same aspect of the hobby is hard.
And the nice thing about today versus when you and I were kids, you know, you've got there's Facebook groups. There's probably like 3 gaming Facebook groups that aren't associated with the university here locally. So there are ways to meet up with people, and we keep lists and keep names and phone numbers and emails. If you're interested in getting together with somebody, we can always hook you up that way too.
You're giving me ideas. Ideas, unfortunately, will take too much time for me to really accomplish being a small business owner like you. Yeah, it eats up a lot of your time. There's no way around it. Okay, I need to figure out how to do it without eating up time for me and the wife. That's going to be the balance. Well, thank you for the interview today.
Well, thanks for coming in. We appreciate it.
And we're going to get this up tonight. It will be up tonight, I promise.
Sounds good.
And I'll get it posted on Facebook.
Okay.
All right. Well, thank you, Tim.
Thank you.